The gunshot echoed through the marble foyer before Maya Richardson even realized she'd pulled the trigger. Blood bloomed across the white shirt of the man who'd just tried to kill her, and as he crumpled to the floor, all she could think was how 3 months ago she'd been a woman who couldn't even kill a spider. Now she stood in a Mafia estate, gun smoking in her trembling hands, while the man she'd accidentally texted watched her with something that looked dangerously close to pride. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me take you back to where this insanity began, to a perfectly ordinary Tuesday afternoon, when Maya made the mistake that would destroy her life and rebuild it into something she never knew she wanted. Maya sat in her corner office on the 42nd floor of the Richardson Marketing Building, staring at the Ovulation app on her phone with the kind of desperation that made her chest ache. 32 years old, married for 5 years, and she couldn't remember the last time her husband had looked at her like she was anything more than a particularly expensive piece of furniture. David Richardson, real estate mogul, her college sweetheart turned stranger, had been working late every night for the past 8 months. Their king-sized bed might as well have been in different zip codes. She'd been tracking her cycle religiously, hoping that maybe if she could just get pregnant, it would fix whatever had broken between them. Stupid, she knew. You couldn't fix a marriage with a baby, but desperation makes people believe in fairy tales. Her fingers hovered over her phone. She'd promised herself she wouldn't be this woman, the one who begged for scraps of attention. But the app showed today was her peak day, and some pathetic part of her still believed in salvaging what they'd once had. She typed quickly before she could talk herself out of it. "Baby, I need you. I'm ovulating. Come home early?" She hit send to David's contact and set the phone down, already feeling the hot flush of embarrassment creeping up her neck. God, how desperate could she sound? Her phone buzzed almost immediately. That was fast. Maybe he actually cared. The message made her blood run cold. "I'm on my way to you, Bellissima." Maya's heart stopped. David never called her anything in Italian. David barely called her anything at all these days. Her hands shook as she checked the recipient. The name at the top of the screen wasn't David at all. It was Dante. No. No, 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 no. Dante Moretti. She'd saved his number 3 months ago after a brief, terrifying encounter at a charity auction, never intending to use it, just keeping it as a weird insurance policy for reasons she couldn't even explain to herself. And her phone's autocorrect had apparently decided that David and Dante were close enough to be interchangeable. She'd just sent an ovulation text to a Mafia boss. Maya's fingers flew across the screen. "Wrong number. So sorry. That was meant for someone else." The response came back within seconds. "Too late, cara mia. I said I'm on my way. We clearly have unfinished business from the Castellano auction. Don't you remember?" Oh, she remembered. She remembered entirely too well. Maya grabbed her purse, her mind racing. She had to get out of here. She'd go home, block his number, pretend this never happened. It was a mistake. A stupid, horrible mistake, but not the end of the world. He wouldn't actually come here. That would be crazy. Her assistant's voice came through the intercom, high-pitched with excitement. "Ms. Richardson, there's a gentleman here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he's very insistent." "A Mr. Dante Moretti?" Maya's stomach dropped through the floor. "Tell him I'm not available," she said, her voice barely steady. There was a pause, then her assistant's whisper, clearly not, meant for the intercom. "Oh my God, he's gorgeous. Are you sure?" Before Maya could respond, her office door opened. Dante Moretti walked in like he owned the building, and maybe he did for all Maya knew about his business interests. He was exactly as she remembered from that night's 6'3" of lean muscle in an expensive black suit that probably cost more than her car. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and darker eyes that missed nothing. There was a thin scar cutting through his left eyebrow that somehow made him more attractive instead of less. Behind him, her assistant practically swooned in the doorway. "That'll be all, Lisa," Maya managed. Lisa backed out reluctantly, closing the door with a dreamy expression that would have been funny under literally any other circumstances. Dante moved with the fluid grace of a predator, circling her desk slowly, taking in every detail of her office, her body language, her fear. Maya stood frozen, trying to decide if running for the door would make things better or worse. "Mr. Moretti," she started, forcing her voice into something resembling professional calm. "This is a misunderstanding. That text was meant for my husband. Autocorrect changed his name. I'm deeply sorry for any confusion, but your husband," Dante interrupted, his accent turning the words into something almost sensual, "is David Richardson. I know. I also know he hasn't touched you in 8 months, Maya. I do my research. The casual use of her first name, the intimate knowledge of her marriage, sent ice water through her veins. How do you know that?" Dante smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I know everything about you. I've known everything since the night of the Castellano auction, the night you saw something you shouldn't have." The memory crashed over her with visceral clarity. 3 months ago. The Castellano Foundation charity auction, one of the biggest social events of the season. David had insisted they attend for networking purposes, then promptly abandoned her to schmooze with potential investors. Maya had wandered through the sprawling estate, wine in hand, feeling invisible in her silver dress. She'd taken a wrong turn trying to find the bathroom, ended up in a restricted wing of the mansion. Through the French doors of what looked like a private study, she'd seen them. 5 men in expensive suits gathered around a desk, a briefcase open filled with diamonds that caught the light like stars. The conversation had been in Italian, but the tone was unmistakable, violent, tense, dangerous. One of the men, stocky with a scar across his cheek, had pulled a gun. Before Maya could even scream, the man at the head of the table had moved, Dante Moretti. She hadn't known his name then, but she'd never forget the brutal efficiency with which he'd disarmed the other man, the gun clattering across the hardwood floor as he'd pinned the would-be shooter against the wall with a forearm across his throat. "You disrespect me in my own business?" Dante had said, his voice soft and infinitely more terrifying than shouting. "You pull a weapon on me?" Maya had gasped, the sound escaping before she could stop it. Dante's head had snapped toward the window, his dark eyes locking onto hers through the glass. For a moment that lasted an eternity, they'd simply stared at each other. Then David's voice had called her name from somewhere down the hallway, breaking the spell. She'd run. She'd found David, made an excuse about feeling ill, and they'd left within 20 minutes. She'd thought that was the end of it. 2 days later, an envelope had arrived at her office. No return address. Inside, a business card with a single name, Dante Moretti, and a handwritten note in elegant script. "You have good instincts. You ran. Smart. But we both know you saw something. If you ever need protection, or if anyone asks you questions about that night, call me. Consider it insurance." And a phone number. She'd saved the number, telling herself it was just in case, never imagining she'd accidentally send him a text about her ovulation cycle. Now, standing in her office with the man himself blocking her exit, Maya felt the full weight of her stupidity crushing down on her. "I won't tell anyone what I saw," she said quickly. "I swear. I don't even know what I saw, really. I won't say anything to anyone." Dante's expression shifted, something almost like sympathy crossing his features. "I know you won't, Kara. You're not stupid, but unfortunately the problem isn't whether you'll talk." He pulled out his phone, swiped through it, then turned the screen toward her. "The problem is that they already know someone saw." The photos made her knees weak. Men she didn't recognize, watching her apartment building, sitting in a car, across from her office, following her through the grocery store parking lot. "The Castellano family knows there was a witness to their failed attempt to intimidate me," Dante continued, pocketing his phone. "They've been looking for that witness. And they're very good at finding people." Maya gripped the edge of her desk to keep from swaying. "What do you want from me?" "Simple." Dante moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woody that made her head spin. "You're mine now. Publicly. My woman. Under my protection. Play the role convincingly, and you stay alive. Refuse, and the Castellanos will find you within a week." I'm married. The words came out strangled. To a man who doesn't love you. Dante's voice was gentle, which somehow made it worse. Tell me, Maya, when was the last time David came home before midnight? When was the last time he kissed you like he meant it? When was the last time he touched you at all? She couldn't answer. The silence stretched between them, damning. I thought so. Dante reached out slowly, telegraphing his movement, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was surprisingly tender. I'm not asking you to love me, Bellissima. I'm asking you to let me keep you alive. And if I say no? His hand dropped. Then I'll have Marco follow you from a distance. Do my best to protect you without your cooperation. But when the Castellanos come for you, and they will come, you'll wish you'd said yes. Maya's mind raced through her options. Call the police? And tell them what? That she'd witnessed a Mafia meeting 3 months ago and now both sides wanted to claim her? Go to David? Her husband, who barely remembered she existed? How long? She whispered. Until it's safe. Until the Castellano family has bigger problems than one witness. Dante's eyes were steady on hers. Could be weeks, could be months. This is insane. Yes, he agreed, but it's the world you stumbled into. And now you need me to navigate it. Before Maya could respond, her phone buzzed. David's name flashed on the screen. She grabbed it like a lifeline. The text made her stomach turn. Working late again. Don't wait up. Dante glanced at the phone, reading the message upside down, and his expression hardened. Your husband is at the Meridian Hotel, he said flatly. Room 717. He's been there every Tuesday and Thursday for 6 months, with his assistant, Jennifer. The world tilted sideways. You're lying. I wish I was. Dante pulled out his phone again, swiped through more photos. I told you, I do my research. The images were crystal clear. David entering the hotel. David in the elevator with a pretty blonde woman, his hand on her lower back. David kissing that same woman in a hallway. The timestamps showed dates going back months. Maya couldn't breathe. Her vision tunneled, black spots dancing at the edges. Breathe, Kara. Dante's voice cut through the rushing in her ears. In through your nose, out through your mouth. She realized distantly that he was guiding her into her desk chair, his hand steady on her shoulder as she gasped for air. The room spun. 5 years of marriage, 5 years of trying, of believing, of hoping, all of it a lie. Why? She managed. Why show me this? Dante crouched beside her chair, bringing himself to eye level. Because you need to understand that the life you're trying to protect doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it never did. I'm offering you a way out, a chance to be someone's priority instead of someone's afterthought. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of him. I need time to think. You have until tomorrow morning, Dante said, standing. Pack a bag. I'll send a car for you at 8. If you're not downstairs, I'll understand. But Maya? He paused at the door, looking back at her. The Castellanos won't give you time to think, and neither will I if they make their move first. Then he was gone, leaving Maya alone in her office with the ruins of her life scattered around her like broken glass. She looked at her phone, at David's text, at the photos of his betrayal, at the ovulation app that had seemed so important an hour ago, and she made a decision. The next morning, Maya stood on the sidewalk outside her apartment building with a single suitcase at 7:58. She'd spent the night alternating between crying and packing, between calling divorce lawyers and staring at the ceiling. David hadn't come home. She'd texted him that she was going to stay with a friend for a few days, needed some space. He'd responded with a thumbs-up emoji. A thumbs-up emoji. 5 years, and she got a thumbs up. The black Maserati pulled up at exactly 8 o'clock. Marco, Dante's second-in-command, got out and opened the back door. He was a bear of a man, 6'5" and built like a tank, but his smile was surprisingly gentle. Ms. Richardson, I'm Marco. Mr. Moretti sent me to collect you. Maya looked at the open car door, at the apartment building behind her, at the life she was leaving. She got in the car. The drive took 40 minutes, winding up into the hills overlooking the city. The estate that finally came into view made Maya's breath catch. It was a sprawling Italian villa, all golden stone and terracotta roofs, surrounded by manicured gardens and a wrought iron fence that probably cost more than her annual salary. Armed guards at the gate waved them through without question. "Holy shit," Maya whispered. Marco chuckled from the front seat. "Wait until you see the inside." He wasn't exaggerating. The interior was stunning, all marble floors and soaring ceilings, crystal chandeliers and art that looked like it belonged in museums. It was beautiful and intimidating in equal measure. Dante appeared at the top of a sweeping staircase, and Maya's traitorous heart did a stupid flutter. He was dressed more casually today, dark jeans and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms corded with muscle and traced with scars. "You came," he said, descending the stairs with that predatory grace. "I wasn't sure you would." "I'm not an idiot," Maya replied, more sharply than she intended. "You made your point." Something flickered in his eyes. Hurt? No, that was impossible. "Marco, take Ms. Richardson's bag to the east wing, third room on the left." Dante's gaze never left Maya. "You'll have your own space, your own bathroom, sitting room, everything you need. I'm not a monster, despite what you might think. Just a kidnapper, a protector." His voice hardened slightly. "There's a difference." An older woman appeared, from a side hallway, short and round, with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. She smiled warmly at Maya. "Ah, you must be the young lady Mr. Moretti has been so concerned about. I'm Rosa, the housekeeper. Come, dear, let me show you to your rooms. You must be exhausted." Rosa ushered Maya upstairs before she could protest, chattering cheerfully about the house and the gardens and how wonderful it was to have another woman around. The suite she led Maya to was larger than her entire apartment. "Mr. Moretti had me prepare everything this morning," Rosa said, opening curtains to reveal a breathtaking view of the city below. "Fresh linens, toiletries, and I took the liberty of having some clothes brought in. I hope the sizes are right." Maya turned to find an entire walk-in closet filled with designer clothing, all in her exact size. "How did he know?" she asked faintly. Rosa's smile turned knowing. "Mr. Moretti is very thorough when he cares about something, or someone." She patted Maya's arm. "Get some rest, dear. There's lunch at 1 if you're hungry. And Maya?" Rosa paused at the door. "He's never brought a woman here before. Never. That should tell you something." Alone in the suite, Maya sank onto the massive bed and finally let herself cry. For her marriage, for her stupidity, for the life she'd lost and the terrifying one she'd stumbled into. She must have dozed off because she woke to the sound of shouting outside. Groggy, she went to the window and looked down at the courtyard. Dante was there, shirtless, sparring with Marco in what looked like a brutal hand-to-hand combat session. Sweat gleamed on his skin, highlighting every muscle, every scar. And there were so many scars, long ones across his ribs, circular ones that could only be bullet wounds, a particularly nasty one that curved from his shoulder blade down his spine. As if feeling her eyes on him, Dante looked up. Their gazes locked across the distance. He didn't smile, didn't wave, just held her stare with an intensity that made her pulse race. Then Marco tackled him, breaking the moment, and they were grappling again. Maya stepped back from the window, her heart pounding. This was a mistake. This had to be a mistake. She couldn't actually be attracted to a criminal, no matter how much her husband had betrayed her. Could she? A knock at the door saved her from that line of thinking. "Come in," she called, expecting Rosa. It was Dante, showered and dressed in fresh clothes, his hair still damp. "I wanted to check on you," he said from the doorway, not entering without invitation. "Make sure you have everything you need." "I'm fine." Maya crossed her arms. suddenly aware she was still in yesterday's clothes, probably looking like a disaster. This is all very overwhelming. I know. He leaned against the doorframe, and the casual pose made him look younger, less dangerous. For what it's worth, I'm sorry you're in this position. If I could have prevented the Castellanos from identifying you, I would have. Why do you even care? The question burst out before she could stop it. You don't know me. I'm nothing to you. Dante's expression shifted, something vulnerable crossing his features before he shuttered it. Do you remember what you were wearing that night? He asked quietly. At the auction? Maya blinked at the non sequitur. A silver dress. Why? Silver dress, hair up, diamonds at your throat. His voice was soft, almost reverent. You were standing by the fountain when I first saw you, before you saw me. You looked so lost, like a ghost haunting a party full of people who couldn't see you. That's depressing. It was beautiful. Dante pushed off the doorframe, taking a single step into the room. I watched you for 20 minutes before that meeting. Watched your husband ignore you. Watched you smile at strangers and pretend everything was fine. Watched the exact moment you gave up and decided to wander off alone. Maya's throat tightened. You're a stalker. I'm a man who recognizes loneliness because I've lived it every day of my life. He moved closer, his eyes never leaving hers. When you looked through that window and saw what you shouldn't have, when our eyes met, do you know what I thought? She shook her head, unable to speak. I thought, there she is, the ghost, and now she's seen the monster. Dante stopped a few feet away, close enough to touch but not touching. I've been looking out for you ever since, Maya, making sure you were safe. The phone number, the note, it wasn't just insurance, it was an invitation. To what? To choose yourself for once instead of a man who doesn't deserve you. The air between them crackled with tension. Maya should step back, should maintain distance, should remember that. This man was dangerous, criminal, everything she should avoid. Instead, she heard herself ask, why did you really come when I texted you? Dante's smile was self-deprecating. Because I've been waiting 3 months for you to reach out. When that text came through, I knew it was a mistake. I knew you meant it for him. But I came anyway because I'm a selfish bastard who wanted any excuse to see you again. That's insane. Yes. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the same gesture from yesterday. But this time, it felt different. But it's true. Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket, shattering the moment. She pulled it out with shaking hands. David's name flashed on the screen. A call this time, not a text. She looked at Dante, who stepped back, giving her space. Answer it, he said quietly. It's your choice, Kara. Always your choice. Maya answered. Where the hell are you? David's voice was sharp with irritation. I came home and you're gone. Your note said you were staying with a friend, but which friend? I called Melissa, called Lauren, nobody knows where you are. I needed space, Maya said, proud that her voice stayed steady. You said you were working late. I didn't think you'd notice. Of course I noticed. You're my wife. The hypocrisy burned. Am I? Because I have some interesting photos that suggest otherwise. Silence on the other end. Then carefully, what are you talking about? Room 717 at the Meridian Hotel. Every Tuesday and Thursday. Jennifer from accounting. Maya's voice cracked despite her best efforts. Did you think I'd never find out? More silence. Then David's voice, cold and calculated. We'll discuss this when you come home. I'm not coming home. Maya, I want a divorce. The words hung in the air. Dante's eyes widened slightly, but he said nothing. David laughed. Actually laughed. Don't be ridiculous. You're upset, fine. We can work through this. But divorce? You're not thinking clearly. I've never been clearer. You'll lose everything, David said, his voice turning threatening. The apartment is in my name, your car, the credit cards, all of it. You'll be left with nothing. Then I'll have nothing. Maya surprised herself with how calm she sounded. But at least I'll have my dignity. Fine. David's tone shifted to pure ice. Be that way. But don't come crawling back when you realize how good you had it. He hung up. Maya stood there, phone still pressed to her ear, the reality of what she'd just done crashing over her. She'd burned the bridge, torched it completely. There was no going back now. Hey, Dante's voice was gentle. Breathe, remember? In through your nose. She realized she was hyperventilating, her chest tight, vision blurring. Dante guided her to sit on the bed, his hand steady on her shoulder. I just ended my marriage, she gasped. 5 years. Oh God, what did I do? You chose yourself, Dante said firmly. You chose freedom over a lie. That took courage, Bellissima. The endearment broke something in her. She started crying, great heaving sobs that she couldn't control. And then Dante was there, pulling her against his chest, his arms solid around her as she fell apart. He didn't say anything, didn't tell her it would be okay or offer empty platitudes. He just held her while she cried, one hand stroking her hair, the other a steady pressure against her back. When she finally quieted, embarrassment flooded in. I'm sorry, she mumbled against his shirt, which was now damp with her tears. I don't usually fall apart on people. You're allowed to fall apart. Dante's voice rumbled in his chest. The world ended today. You're allowed to grieve it. Maya pulled back, wiping her eyes. Your shirt is ruined. I have others. He studied her face with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't. Are you okay? No. She laughed wetly. But I will be. Yes, he agreed. You will be. There was something in the way he looked at her, like he could see through all her defenses to the person underneath. It terrified her. It thrilled her. It made her feel more alive than she had in years. This was dangerous. This was wrong. This was everything she shouldn't want. But God, she wanted it anyway. A sharp knock on the door broke the moment. Marco's voice came through, urgent. Boss, we have a situation. Dante was on his feet instantly, his entire demeanor shifting from gentle to lethal in a heartbeat. Stay here, he told Maya, then strode to the door. Marco's face was grim. Castellano's men just hit 3 of our warehouses. Simultaneous strikes. They're sending a message. How bad? 2 dead, 5 wounded. They took the shipments. Dante's jaw clenched. Tell everyone to fall back to defensive positions. I want doubled guards here and at the safe houses. Nobody moves alone. Already done. Marco glanced past Dante to Maya. Boss, there's more. They left a note. Says they know about the girl. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Dante's expression went absolutely cold. Show me. Marco handed over a phone. Dante looked at the screen, and Maya saw his knuckles go white as he gripped it. What does it say? She asked, standing. Dante turned the phone so she could see. The message was simple and terrifying. We know you're hiding her. The witness. Give her to us, or we take everything from you. Starting with your family businesses, ending with your life. You have 48 hours. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. They know I'm here. They know I have someone, Dante corrected. They don't know who or where. This is a fishing expedition. They're trying to provoke me into a mistake. People died because of me. Maya's voice shook. 2 people are dead because I saw something I shouldn't have. 2 people are dead because the Castellanos are animals who will use any excuse for violence, Dante said sharply. This isn't on you, Kara. This is on them. I should go to the police. Tell them everything. Maybe if I testify, they'll kill you before you make it to the courthouse. Dante handed the phone back to Marco. Double the guard rotation. I want eyes on every approach to the estate. And get me everything we have on the Castellano family operations. Financial records, property holdings, everything. If they want a war, we'll give them one. Marco nodded and left. Dante turned back to Maya, and the cold fury in his eyes made her step back involuntarily. He noticed, and something in his expression cracked. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice rough. "I didn't mean to scare you. But you need to understand something, Maya. The police can't protect you from this. The law can't protect you from this. I can, but only if you trust me. I barely know you. I know." He moved closer, his intensity almost overwhelming. "But you know your husband even less, it turns out. At least I've been honest with you about who and what I am." That stung because it was true. What do we do now? Now, you stay in this house where you're safe. I have the best security money can buy, and every man here would die before letting the Castellanos through that door. Dante's hand came up, cupping her cheek with surprising gentleness. "I will keep you alive, Maya. I swear it on everything I am." "Why?" The question came out as a whisper. "Why do you care this much about a stranger?" His thumb stroked across her cheekbone, and the tenderness of the gesture made her chest ache. "Because when I saw you that night, lost and lonely and so goddamn beautiful it hurt to look at you, I thought, there's someone who understands." His dark eyes searched hers. "I've been alone my whole life, Maya, surrounded by people but utterly alone. And then I saw you, and I recognized myself. How could I not care?" This was happening too fast. Everything was moving too fast. She should push him away, should maintain boundaries, should remember that this man was dangerous, and her life was already complicated enough. Instead, she leaned into his touch. "This is crazy," she breathed. "Yes," Dante agreed. "But sometimes crazy is the only sane response to an insane world." The moment stretched between them, heavy with possibility and danger and something that felt dangerously like hope. Then Dante's phone rang, shattering it. He answered with a curt, "What?" His expression darkened as he listened. "When? Are you sure?" A pause. "Bring him to the South Study. I'll be right there." He hung up and looked at Maya, conflict warring in his eyes. "I have to handle something. Will you be okay here for a bit?" "What's happening?" "We caught someone trying to breach the perimeter. Castellano family colors." His jaw tightened. "I need to find out what he knows." The implication was clear. Dante was going to interrogate someone, probably not gently. "Okay," Maya said, trying to ignore the knot of anxiety in her stomach. Dante hesitated, then leaned in and pressed a kiss to her forehead. The gesture was so unexpected, so tender, that Maya froze. "Lock the door behind me," he said softly. "Don't open it for anyone but Rosa or me." Then he was gone, and Maya was alone with the weight of everything that had just happened crushing down on her shoulders. She locked the door as instructed and sank back onto the bed. Her phone buzzed. Multiple texts from David, each one angrier than the last. She deleted them without reading and blocked his number. The old Maya would have felt guilty, would have second-guessed herself, would have wondered if she was making a terrible mistake. The new Maya, the one who'd just watched a Mafia boss promise to protect her with murder in his eyes and tenderness in his touch, felt nothing but a strange sense of relief. Outside her window, she could see guards moving through the gardens, automatic weapons held with casual competence. This was her life now. Protected by criminals, wanted by worse ones, caught between her old world and something terrifyingly new. Her hand drifted to her stomach, a habitual gesture she'd developed over months of obsessing over her cycle. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd sent that text hoping to save her marriage with a baby. Instead, she'd burned her entire life to the ground and landed in the arms of a man who made her feel more alive in 2 days than her husband had in 5 years. A scream echoed from somewhere, in the house, muffled by distance and walls, but unmistakable. Maya's blood ran cold. That was the interrogation happening. That was the reality of the world she'd entered. She should be horrified. She should be planning her escape. Instead, she found herself thinking about the scars on Dante's back, about the way his eyes had softened when he looked at her, about the fact that he'd been watching over her for 3 months without her knowing, keeping her safe from threats she didn't even know existed. This was Stockholm Syndrome. Had to be. There was no other explanation for why her heart raced when he was near, why she'd leaned into his touch, why the thought of him interrogating someone in her name made her feel protected instead of appalled. Another scream, then silence. Maya turned on the TV to drown out any other sounds, flipping through channels until she landed on a cooking show. Anything to distract from what was happening downstairs. An hour later, a soft knock at her door made her jump. "It's Rosa, dear." Maya unlocked and opened the door. Rosa stood there with a tray of food, her kind face creased with concern. "I thought you might be hungry. You missed lunch." "Thank you." Maya took the tray, the smell of pasta and fresh bread making her realize she was actually starving. Rosa hesitated in the doorway. "You heard the commotion earlier?" It wasn't a question. "Yes." "It frightened you?" Maya considered lying, then decided there was no point. "Yes." Rosa stepped into the room, closing the door behind her. "May I tell you something, dear?" "Of course." "I've worked for the Moretti family for 35 years. I knew Dante's mother, God rest her soul. Beautiful woman, heart of gold. She was killed when Dante was just 12 years old, shot in a drive-by meant for his father." Rosa's eyes grew distant with memory. Dante found her, held her while she died. Can you imagine? 12 years old, covered in your mother's blood? Maya felt tears prick her eyes. That's horrible. His father was a hard man, made harder by grief, raised Dante to be a weapon, taught him that love was weakness, that mercy would get you killed. Rosa met Maya's eyes. But his mother, in those 12 years she had with him, she taught him something different. She taught him that protecting people you care about is the highest purpose, that there's no shame in tenderness, only in cruelty. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I see the way he looks at you." Rosa smiled gently. "I've never seen him look at anyone that way. And I know you're scared. You should be scared. This life is dangerous. But you should also know that man downstairs, the one doing terrible things to protect you. He would burn the world down before letting anyone hurt you. That's not a small thing, dear. That's not a small thing at all." She patted Maya's hand and left, closing the door softly behind her. Maya picked at her pasta, Rosa's words echoing in her head. A 12-year-old boy holding his dying mother. Growing up in a world of violence and betrayal, learning to survive by becoming harder than his enemies. What did it say about her that knowing this made her want him more, not less? She was still wrestling with that question when another knock came, firmer this time. "It's me," Dante's voice called. "Can I come in?" Maya opened the door. He looked exhausted, his shirt sleeves still rolled up, a bruise forming on his jaw that definitely hadn't been there earlier. There was blood on his knuckles. "Are you okay?" she asked before she could stop herself. Dante's expression softened. "You're asking if I'm okay? Maya, I just spent an hour beating information out of a man who was planning to kill you. Did you get what you needed?" "Yes." He leaned against the doorframe, and she could see the weariness in every line of his body. "The Castellanos know someone witnessed their meeting. They don't know who, but they've narrowed it down to 3 possibilities. You're one of them." "Who are the others?" "A senator's wife who was also at the auction, and a journalist who's been investigating their operations." Dante's jaw tightened. They're going after all 3, covering their bases. Horror washed over Maya. "We have to warn them." "Already done. The senator's wife is in protective custody as of an hour ago. The journalist..." Dante's expression darkened. "The journalist didn't make it. They got to him this afternoon." Maya felt sick. "Because of me. Because I saw..." "No." Dante pushed off the doorframe and moved into the room, taking her hands in his despite the blood still on his knuckles. "Because the Castellanos are murderers who will kill anyone who threatens their power. The journalist knew the risks. He chose to investigate them anyway. His death is on them, not you." "How can you be so calm about this?" "Because I've lived in this world my entire life. Death is the price of admission, Kara. The only question is whether you die on your knees or on your feet fighting. His grip on her hands tightened. I won't let you die at all. That's a promise. Maya looked down at their joined hands, at the blood on his knuckles that he'd spilled for her, at the strength in his fingers that could crush or cradle with equal skill. Tell me about your mother, she said quietly. Dante went very still. Rosa told you. She thought I should know. He was quiet for so long Maya thought he wouldn't answer. Then, in a voice rough with old pain, her name was Elena. She loved gardening and opera and terrible romance novels. She used to read to me every night before bed, even after I told her I was too old for it. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. She had the worst taste in books. Heaving bosoms, and dashing rogues and happy endings that never happen in real life. What happened the night she died? We were coming home from dinner, my birthday. I'd turned 12 that day. Dante's eyes went distant, seeing a past Maya could only imagine. 3 cars surrounded us, my father's enemies. They opened fire. The driver died instantly. My father was hit twice but survived. My mother. His voice broke. Maya squeezed his hands, offering silent support. She threw herself over me, he continued, his voice barely above a whisper. Took the bullets meant for me. I felt her blood, warm and wet, soaking through my shirt. Smelled the copper of it. She looked at me and said, "Be good, baby. Be so good." Then she was gone. Tears streamed down Maya's face. I'm so sorry. My father spent the next 10 years making sure I'd never be that vulnerable again. Taught me to fight, to shoot, to kill, to never let emotions cloud judgment, to never care about anything enough that losing it could break me. Dante's dark eyes focused on her, burning with intensity. And I didn't. For 20 years, I didn't care about anything or anyone. I was exactly what he made me. A weapon, a ghost, something that moved through the world but was never part of it. What changed? You. The single word hung between them, weighted with meaning. I saw you at that auction. And for the first time in 20 years, I wanted something that wasn't revenge or power or survival. I wanted to know what made you sad. I wanted to see you smile. I wanted to be the reason you felt safe instead of scared. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Dante, I'm not asking you to feel the same way, he interrupted. I know this is insane. I know I'm probably the last person you should trust. But I need you to know that what I feel for you, it's real. It's the realest thing I've felt in 2 decades. He was standing, so close now. Close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. Close enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Close enough to make a decision that would change everything. Maya had spent 5 years being careful, being the good wife, the understanding partner, the woman who never rocked the boat. And where had it gotten her? Alone, betrayed, desperately texting a husband who was sleeping with his assistant. Screw careful. She closed the distance between them and kissed him. For a heartbeat, Dante froze in surprise. Then he was kissing her back with a hunger that stole her breath, his hands coming up to frame her face as he deepened the kiss. It was nothing like kissing David. This was fire and need and desperation, like they were both drowning and each other was air. Maya's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, his arms wrapped around her waist, lifting her slightly as he walked her backward until her back hit the wall. The kiss turned frantic, messy, perfect. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. We shouldn't, he said, his voice rough. I know. You're vulnerable. This is a terrible idea. I know. I'm going to hell for this. Then I'll go with you. He laughed, the sound surprised and genuine, and it transformed his entire face. You're going to destroy me, Bellissima. Good, Maya breathed, and kissed him again. This time, Dante didn't hesitate. He kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been suffocating, like she was home and he'd been lost for years. His hands tangled in her hair, gentle despite the desperation in his kiss. Maya's world narrowed to the taste of him, the feel of him, the way he made her feel like she was the only thing that mattered in the entire universe. When they finally came up for air again, Maya was shaking. Dante's pupils were blown wide, his breathing ragged. "I should go," he said, making no move to actually leave. "Before I do something we'll both regret. What if I don't want you to go?" His eyes darkened. "Maya, I'm not asking for promises or forever," she interrupted. "I'm asking for now. For this moment. For something real in the middle of all this insanity." Dante's hands cupped her face with devastating gentleness. "You deserve better than a broken man covered in blood. You deserve better than to believe you're broken." Something in his expression cracked, and Maya saw the lonely 12-year-old boy underneath the lethal Mafia boss, saw the man who'd spent 20 years convinced he didn't deserve softness or kindness or love. "Stay," she whispered. "Please stay." For a long moment he just looked at her, conflict warring in his eyes. Then he kissed her softly, reverently, like she was something precious. "I'll stay," he murmured against her lips. "But we're just sleeping, Kara. You've been through too much today. I won't take advantage." Relief and disappointment warred in Maya's chest. "Okay." They climbed into the massive bed together, and Dante pulled her against his chest. Maya should have felt awkward, should have been overthinking everything. Instead, she felt safe, protected, cherished. "Tell me something nobody knows about you," Dante said into the darkness. Maya thought about it. "I wanted to be a writer. Before I met David, before I got the marketing job, I wanted to write novels. Terrible romance novels like your mother loved." She felt his chest rumble with quiet laughter. "Why didn't you?" "David said it wasn't practical, that I'd never make money at it. So I got the sensible job, married the sensible man, lived the sensible life." Maya's voice turned bitter. "Look how well that turned out. What would you write about, if you could write anything?" "I don't know anymore. I used to think I'd write about love, about happy endings. But I'm not sure I believe in those anymore." Dante's arms tightened around her. "Maybe you just haven't found yours yet. You believe in happy endings? In this life you lead?" "No," he admitted, "but I'm starting to hope." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, two broken people finding unexpected comfort in the wreckage of their lives. Maya woke to the sound of gunfire. For a disoriented moment, she thought she was dreaming. Then Dante was out of bed, pulling on his jeans with brutal efficiency, grabbing a gun from the nightstand she hadn't even known was there. "Stay down," he ordered, his voice pure command. "Lock the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone." "What's happening?" "The Castellanos are done playing." He checked the gun's magazine with practiced ease. "They're hitting us now." Terror flooded Maya's system. "How many?" "Enough." Dante moved to the door, then paused, looking back at her. In the dim light filtering through the windows, his expression was fierce. "I will come back for you. I swear on my mother's grave. I will come back." Then he was gone, and Maya was alone with the sound of automatic weapons fire and shouting echoing through the estate. She locked the door with shaking hands and retreated to the bathroom, the most interior room in the suite. Outside, the sounds of battle raged, glass shattering, men screaming, the distinctive crack of bullets hitting stone. Maya huddled in the bathtub, arms wrapped around her knees, and prayed to a God she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. "Please, please let him be okay. Please let this end." Time lost meaning. Seconds stretched into hours. The gunfire seemed to go on forever. Then, silence. It was somehow worse than the noise. Maya strained to hear anything: voices, footsteps, signs of life. Nothing. A knock at the bedroom door made her heart stop. "Maya." Dante's voice, rough but alive. "It's me. It's over." She practically flew out of the bathroom, fumbling with the lock, yanking the door open. Dante stood there, blood-spattered and exhausted, but alive. Blessedly, impossibly alive. Maya threw herself at him, and he caught her, holding her tight as she shook. "You're okay," she gasped. "You're okay." "I'm okay." His hand stroked her hair. "We held them off. They retreated." "How many?" 20 of theirs, 3 of mine." His voice was heavy. "Good men. Men with families." The weight of that settled over them both. 3 more deaths, 3 more families destroyed. All because Maya had seen something she shouldn't have. "This has to end," she said, pulling back to look at him. "People are dying. We need to find a way to end this." Dante's expression was grim. "There's only one way this ends, Kara. Either the Castellanos back down or they're eliminated." "You mean killed?" "I mean eliminated." He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "This is war, Maya. In war, there are only 2 outcomes, victory or death. There's no middle ground. I can't be responsible for more deaths." "You're not responsible." "They are." His thumb stroked her cheek. "But if it helps you sleep at night, know this. The Castellanos run human trafficking operations. They sell women and children to the highest bidder. They peddle drugs that kill teenagers. They extort protection money from businesses that can't afford to pay." His eyes burned into hers. "Taking them down doesn't just save you. It saves hundreds of innocent people." Maya had known abstractly that the people after her were criminals, but hearing it laid out so starkly made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "What do we do?" she whispered. "We fight." Dante's jaw set with determination. "Marco's gathering intelligence on their operations as we speak. We're going to hit them hard, fast, and in a way they won't recover from." "How?" "Their money. Their power comes from their wealth, and their wealth comes from illegal operations. We're going to expose everything to the FBI, with evidence they can't ignore." A dark smile crossed his face. "Turns out, your husband has been very helpful in that regard." Maya blinked. "What?" "David's been laundering money for the Castellanos through his real estate deals. Has been for years." Dante pulled out his phone, showed her a series of financial documents. "We've been tracking it for months. With his records and our intelligence, we have enough to bring down their entire East Coast operation." The revelation should have shocked her. Instead, Maya just felt a weary kind of vindication. Of course, David was corrupt. Of course, he was mixed up in something like this. It explained so much about his late nights, his sudden wealth, his paranoia about her asking questions. "He's going to prison," she said flatly. "If he's lucky. The Castellanos don't take kindly to people who give up their secrets." Dante's expression was merciless. "And David's records are about to become very public. You're using him as bait. I'm using him as justice. He betrayed you, Maya. He's been stealing from me, and he's been helping monsters traffic in human misery." Dante's hand slid to the back of her neck, anchoring her. "He deserves everything that's coming to him." Maya should feel something about her husband's impending downfall. Guilt, maybe. Sadness. Something. She felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "When?" she asked. "Tomorrow. Marco's making the final arrangements now. By this time tomorrow, the FBI will have everything they need. The Castellanos will be in custody, and you'll be safe." "Just like that?" "Just like that." Dante leaned down, resting his forehead against hers. "And then, if you want, you can walk away, go back to your life. I'll set you up with a new identity, new city, whatever you need to start over." The thought of walking away, of never seeing him again, made Maya's chest ache. "What if I don't want to walk away?" she whispered. His eyes darkened. "Then you stay. You stay. And we figure out what this is between us. You stay. And I spend every day trying to be worthy of the gift you're giving me. I'm not a gift. I'm a disaster. You're my disaster." He kissed her softly. "If you'll have me." Maya kissed him back, deeper this time, her answer clear in the way she pressed against him. They had time now. Not forever. Nothing in this world was forever. But time to figure out if this insane, impossible thing between them could be real. The next morning, Maya woke to find Dante already gone. A note on his pillow read simply, "It's happening. Stay safe. D." She showered, dressed in jeans and a sweater from the well-stocked closet, and ventured downstairs. The estate bore signs of last night's battle. Bullet holes in walls, shattered windows being replaced, bloodstains on the marble floors that made her stomach turn. Rosa found her in the kitchen, pressing a cup of coffee into her hands. "Drink, dear. It's going to be a long day." "What's happening?" "Mr. Moretti and his men are executing their plan. By noon it should all be over." Rosa patted her hand. "One way or another." The hours crawled by with agonizing slowness. Maya tried to distract herself with TV, with books, with pacing the gardens under the watchful eyes of the guards. Nothing worked. Her mind kept circling back to Dante, to the danger he was in, to the possibility that she might never see him again. At 11:30, Marco appeared at the garden entrance, his expression grim. "Ms. Richardson, you need to come with me. Now." Ice flooded Maya's veins. "What happened? Is Dante—" "The boss is fine, but there's been a complication." Marco was already guiding her toward the garage. "David showed up at the FBI field office. He's trying to cut a deal, and part of that deal involves you." "Me? What about me?" "He's claiming you're involved in the money laundering, that you knew about his dealings with the Castellanos and helped facilitate them." Marco's jaw clenched. "It's bullshit, obviously, but they're issuing a warrant for your arrest. We need to move you before they get here." This was a nightmare. It had to be a nightmare. Marco hustled her into a black SUV, 3 more vehicles falling in around them as they sped away from the estate. Maya's mind raced, trying to process. David was throwing her under the bus to save himself. Of course he was. Why had she expected anything different? They'd been driving for maybe 10 minutes when Marco's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression went from grim to murderous. "Understood. We're 15 minutes out." He hung up and met Maya's eyes in the rearview mirror. "The FBI raided the Castellano family compound an hour ago. They have everyone in custody except for Vincent Castellano, the family head. He went to ground." "That's good, right? They're arrested. It's over?" "It would be, except Vincent isn't running. He's hunting. And according to our sources, he knows exactly where you are." The words had barely left Marco's mouth when the rear window exploded. Glass showered the interior as bullets tore through the vehicle. Marco yanked the wheel hard, the SUV fishtailing wildly. More gunshots. The front tire blew, and suddenly they were spinning, the world a blur of motion and noise and terror. They hit something hard. The airbags deployed with a sound like a bomb going off. Then everything went still and quiet except for the ringing in Maya's ears. "Move!" Marco's voice cut through the fog. "Move now!" He was dragging her from the wreckage, blood streaming down his face from a gash on his forehead. Around them, 3 black cars had formed a semicircle, men with guns emerging like a scene from a movie. The other vehicles in their convoy were disabled, Dante's men scrambling for cover, returning fire, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Marco shoved Maya behind a concrete barrier, pressing a gun into her hands. "You know how to use this?" "I shot someone 3 days ago," Maya said, surprised by how steady her voice was. "Good. Use it again if you have to. I'm going to draw their fire. When you see an opening, run for that building." He pointed to an abandoned warehouse about 50 yards away. "Hide. Don't come out until you hear the boss or me call for you. Marco, go!" He was up and firing, laying down cover as he sprinted toward the Castellano men. Maya didn't think. She ran. Bullets kicked up concrete dust around her feet. Someone shouted behind her in Italian. She didn't stop, didn't look back, just ran with everything she had. She made it to the warehouse, slamming through a rusted side door. Inside was dark and cavernous, filled with abandoned machinery and rats. Maya kept running, heading deeper into the shadows, trying to put as much distance as possible between herself and the gunfight outside. A hand grabbed her arm from the darkness, spinning her around. Maya brought the gun up instinctively, finger on the trigger. Easy. The man who held her was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and cold blue eyes. Vincent Castellano. She recognized him from the photos Dante had shown her. We just want to talk. Let me go. Can't do that, sweetheart. You see, you're very valuable to me right now. His grip tightened painfully on her arm. The only leverage I have against Moretti. He won't negotiate with you. Oh, I think he will. Not for just anyone, maybe. But for you? Vincent smiled, and it was terrifying. He's been protecting you for 3 months. Went to war with my family over you. He'll deal. Outside, the gunfire had stopped. An ominous silence fell. Vincent's phone rang. He answered, keeping his eyes on Maya. Moretti, I was hoping you'd call. Maya couldn't hear the other end of the conversation, but she could see Vincent's expression darken. I have her, your little witness. And unless you want me to put a bullet in her brain and dump her in the river, you're going to call off the FBI, get my family released, and give me safe passage out of the country. He paused, listening. You have 30 minutes. After that, she dies. He hung up and looked at Maya with something almost like pity. Nothing personal, sweetheart. Just business. He'll kill you, Maya said with more confidence than she felt. Dante will hunt you to the ends of the earth. Maybe. But you'll be dead, so you won't care. Vincent pulled out his own gun, pressing it to her temple. Now we wait. 28 minutes later, the warehouse door crashed open. Dante stood silhouetted in the entrance, backlit by the afternoon sun, looking like an avenging angel. He held no weapon, his hands raised. Let her go, Vincent. Not a chance. Vincent's gun pressed harder against Maya's skull. You're going to walk away. Get in your car. Drive away and never look back, or I kill her right now. You kill her, and nothing will stop me from burning your entire bloodline to ash. Dante's voice was absolutely calm, which somehow made the threat more terrifying. But let her go, and I'll give you a 5-minute head start before I come after you. Not good enough. It's the only deal you're getting. Vincent's finger tightened on the trigger. Maya closed her eyes, thinking about her mother, about the life she'd had, about the strange and terrible and wonderful past few days, about how she'd finally felt alive for the first time in years, only to have it end like this. A gunshot rang out. Maya waited for the pain, for the darkness. It didn't come. She opened her eyes to find Vincent crumpling beside her, a neat hole in his forehead. Behind where he'd stood, Marco emerged from the shadows, his gun still raised. Sorry I'm late, boss, Marco said calmly. Had to get into position. Maya's knees gave out. She hit the concrete hard, shock finally overwhelming her system. Dante was there in an instant, pulling her into his arms, his hands running over her, frantically checking for injuries. Are you hurt? Maya, talk to me. Are you hurt? I'm okay, she managed. I'm okay. He crushed her against his chest, and she felt him shaking. Actually shaking. When he had that gun to your head, Dante's voice cracked. I saw my entire life without you flash before my eyes. It was empty, Kara. So goddamn empty. Maya pulled back just enough to see his face. There were tears in his eyes, this lethal man who'd probably killed dozens of people, crying over the thought of losing her. I'm here, she said softly. I'm right here. He kissed her then, desperate and fierce, like he was trying to prove to himself she was real. Maya kissed him back with equal intensity, both of them shaking with adrenaline and relief and something that felt dangerously close to love. When they finally broke apart, Marco cleared his throat pointedly. Boss, we need to move. FBI's going to be here any minute. Let them come. Dante stood, pulling Maya up with him. We have nothing to hide. The Castellanos are finished. David's in custody. It's over. And it was. The FBI arrived and took their statements. The Castellano family operations were dismantled. David was arrested on multiple charges including money laundering, racketeering, and conspiracy. The charges against Maya were dropped when it became clear she'd been an unwitting pawn. 6 days after it all began with a mistaken text, Maya stood in Dante's study watching him work. The bruises from the fight had faded to yellow. The bullet holes in the estate's walls had been repaired. Life was slowly returning to normal, or whatever passed for normal in this world. "I have something to tell you," Maya said quietly. Dante looked up from his paperwork, his expression softening immediately. "What is it, Kara?" "I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air between them. Dante went very still. "You're sure?" "Took 3 tests this morning. All positive." Maya's hand moved to her still flat stomach. Turns out that ovulation app was accurate. But the timing. She met his eyes. "It's yours, Dante, not David's. The timing only works if it's yours." He was around the desk in an instant, his hands framing her face, eyes searching hers. "And you want to keep it?" "Yes." No hesitation. "I want this baby. Our baby. But I know this is fast. I know we barely know each other. And if you're not ready—" Dante kissed her, silencing the anxious spiral. When he pulled back, there were tears in his eyes again. "My mother used to tell me that the best things in life happen when you're not looking for them. That love finds you when you stop trying to control everything." His hand covered hers on her stomach. "I've been alone for 20 years, Maya. And then you stumbled into my life by accident. And suddenly everything I thought I knew about myself was wrong. Is that a yes?" "That's an absolutely, terrifyingly, wonderfully yes." He dropped to his knees, eye level with her stomach. "Hello in there, little one. I'm your father, and I promise you, I will be better than my father was. I will keep you safe. I will tell you every day that you're loved, and I will never, ever let you question whether you matter." Maya's tears fell freely now, her hands threading through his hair as he pressed his forehead to her stomach. "We're going to be a family," she whispered. "We're already a family." Dante stood, pulling her close. "The 3 of us. Starting right now." 6 months later, Maya stood on the terrace of a villa in Tuscany, her hand resting on her very pregnant belly, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. Behind her she heard the door open and Dante's footsteps on the stone. His arms wrapped around her from behind, his hands covering hers on her stomach. "How are my girls?" he murmured against her ear. "Perfect." Maya leaned back into his embrace. "Although your daughter has been doing gymnastics all afternoon. She takes after her mother. Stubborn." Maya laughed, turning in his arms to face him. "I was thinking about the day I sent that text, how it was the biggest mistake of my life. And now? And now I think it was the best mistake I ever made." She kissed him, softly. "You saved me, Dante. In every way a person can be saved. You saved me too, Bellissima. You gave me a reason to be more than what my father made me. You gave me hope." His hand cupped her face tenderly. "You gave me everything." Their wedding had been small and intimate, just family and close friends. Rosa had cried through the entire ceremony. Marco had given a toast about how love finds you in the strangest places. And Maya had promised to love, honor, and occasionally commit light felonies with Dante Moretti for the rest of their lives. Now, standing in the Italian sunset with her husband's arms around her and their daughter moving beneath her hands, Maya thought about the woman she'd been 6 months ago, desperate, lonely, trapped in a life that was slowly killing her spirit. That woman was gone. In her place was someone stronger, braver, more alive than she'd ever imagined she could be. "I love you," she said, looking into Dante's dark eyes. "I love you so much it terrifies me." "Good," he grinned. "Terror means you're paying attention." He kissed her as the sun set over the Tuscan hills, And Maya thought about happy endings and terrible romance novels, and how sometimes life gives you exactly what you need, disguised as the worst possible thing. Sometimes the wrong number is exactly the right call. And sometimes, just sometimes, the monsters turn out to be the heroes of the story. If you loved this story of second chances and dangerous love, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more intense romance stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Drop a comment below telling me your favorite moment. Was it the first kiss, the warehouse confrontation, or the sweet ending? I love hearing from you. New stories drop every week, so subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Until next time, remember that sometimes the best love stories start with the biggest mistakes.